So, in the interest of fairness and just not being a total asshole, I feel like I have to make a video now talking about the things that I like about the United States. Because honestly, I do criticize the US a lot and the entire MAGA movement in my videos a lot lately, and deservedly so. But at the same time, I have to say that, like, I don't like petty nationalism. I don't like petty national chauvinism. And if I'm coming across at all like I just hate everything American, I don't want to come across that way. So, in the interest of fairness, I think I should list here some of the things that I like about the US and some of the positives that I think the US has contributed to the world. Now, there are some cases where you could say something's a positive, but it's kind of a double-edged sword where there's some positives and some negatives to the same thing, and where the negatives may outweigh the positives. So I'm not going to talk about those things. Like, I could talk about, like, oh, how great the American economy is, or like how much they produce in terms of technological advancement. But the issue is, I think those things are inherently double-edged swords that would, in some ways, are more of a negative than a positive when you look at what's behind them and what it necessitates. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk more about things where I think their contribution, like things that, let me put it this way, that are good and that I don't think are more bad than good. Or at very least, let me put it this way, that aren't worse than in other countries. Okay, so starting off, movies and television. Now, this is an interesting thing because a lot of people are going to say Hollywood's one of the worst things that the US does. And I mean, that is actually true on some level, but I will say this, a lot of the bad things that Hollywood does, the film industries in other countries do too, and worse. Like, when I watch French movies, for instance, a lot of French movies are literally nothing but like far left, anti-white, anti-European messaging. Like, French movies are really bad for that. And not only that, but there's a lot of French movies are just over-the-top gore, like gore on top of gore on top of gore. The only French movie I saw that I thought was really good was The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. So yeah, when I compare American movies and TV shows to those of other countries, honestly, American movies and TV overall, I think are better. If I'm looking at the best movies I've ever seen, the best TV shows I've ever seen, the list would be overwhelmingly dominated by ones from the United States. And it's not just per capita, because if I look at the average of movies and shows that I've seen from other countries, I actually think the American ones would be better on a per capita basis, like in terms of the average quality. Like, I don't think there'd be any movie. I'm trying to think, what's the best non-American movie? Like, it's hard to say because it's like, what is American? What is non-American? Like, especially with stuff that is English language, but an international co-production, like, say, Lord of the Rings or District 9 or like Kingsman, Harry Potter, James Bond, like it's, or like Taken, The Transporter. It's like, I don't exactly know how it entirely works for these movies, what country you'd really attribute them to. So let me put it this way. The best movies are either wholly or partially American. In terms of like a movie that is not American at all, like, what's the best movie of all time that is neither wholly nor partially American? I'm trying to think. I mean, Elite Squad 2, City of God, Pan's Labyrinth, Diving Bell and the Butterfly, as I mentioned. Like, I'm not sure with British movies, Hot Fuzz, like, I think most of the biggest British movies are at least partially American productions, like Kingsman, Harry Potter, James Bond. But I'm trying to think, are there any entirely British movies? Like, what about Trainspotting or Clockwork Orange? Are those partly American productions. I don't actually know. But my point is, like, okay, if you look at best movies of all time, the list would be overwhelmingly dominated by American films. Like, I don't even need to start listing them because, like, everything from, like, your Star Wars original trilogy to, like, Lord of the Rings, that's at least partially American, to, like, you know, films like Fight Club, American Beauty, Forrest Gump. There's just so many, like, I don't even need to start listing them because that would start being the entire video. Same with TV series. Again, like, as far as best TV shows ever, like, the only one that I can think of that would be close, like, in my top 10 that is not American would be Dark, which is from Germany. Overwhelmingly, the best shows are American. Like, Gomorrah, I thought was all right, but I would still say if you compare Gomorrah to The Sopranos, it's not even a contest. Sopranos is by far the superior show. So, like, even European stuff, like European, or, like, I'm not that into, like, East Asian cinema. Like, there's a few East Asian movies and shows that I've liked a lot, but a lot of them are the ones that are considered more like basic bitch. Like, if you like American stuff, you'll probably like them. Like, say, like Squid Game or Old Boy. I liked Perfect Blue. I thought that was my favorite anime film. But, like, yeah, again, like with TV series, movies overall, these are the exceptions I'm listing here. They're not the rule. Overwhelmingly, American ones are better. Like, a lot of the European movies I've seen they're very left wing. Like, you get all these movies like that French one, like Qu'est-ce qu'on fait au bon Dieu, that film that is essentially propaganda promoting interracial relationships. You also get a lot of like what was that one? The Intouchables or whatever, which was basically a propaganda film trying to get people to embrace immigration by being like, oh, here's this movie based on a true story with this one black guy who is really nice and considerate and selfless. Oh, by the way, in real life, he was actually Algerian, but we're going to make him black because Algerian, I guess, isn't dark enough. So yeah, like, again, like most European movies seem to be like left slanted like manipulative films, like even more so than American films. Like, European movies tend to be really bad. There's a lot of European Holocaust movies. Like, so many of their films are about the Holocaust, like directly or indirectly. It seems to be like a huge percentage of their movies are just like Nazis bad. Holocaust was the worst thing that ever happened. A lot of them are movies about immigrants making immigrants look like the victims. Like, again, those District B13 movies. So many European movies are like that. And the ones that aren't like that, a lot of them are gore films. Like so many French horror movies in particular are gore films. And yeah, okay, maybe I'm focusing excessively on France here. I get that. Like, like a lot of the European movies I've seen have been French movies, and as a whole, my opinion of French cinema is not that high from what I've seen. But yeah, overall, America just has the best average. Like, I mean, I can't think of any individual country other than maybe the UK. But again, UK, a lot of their movies are American co-productions. Like, I mean, I guess Spain has some good horror movies and Brazil has some good crime dramas. But as a whole, like, American cinema, just movies and TV series are just, like, so many of the best of all time are American. And not just like action schlock, but like, not even, when I say action schlock, I mean, not just action movies or superhero or sci-fi or whatever. Like, a lot of the MCU stuff, I agree, is slop. But like, when you look at good movies, like the Before trilogy, those are American movies, or like American Beauty or Fight Club or Requiem for a Dream. Like, movies like that. Like, so many of the best drama films are American. Yeah, I mean, America kind of does own the world's ass in that regard. Like, they're the best at movies and TV shows. And yeah, they make a lot of shit. That is absolutely true. But I still think the average overall, not just quantity, but quality, would be better for the US than for most other countries. And especially when looking at like the best movies, like the country that makes the most like 8, 9, 10 out of 10 movies, it would be overwhelmingly the US. So yeah, I mean, we can debate all day about why that is. Why does the US have such a, I won't even say monopoly entirely on movies and TV, because other countries do make movies and TV shows, but like, why is the US better? I mean, it's not just money either, because when you look at like stuff like the Before trilogy or American Beauty, or like TV series like say Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, I'm sure those series aren't like ridiculously expensive. So it's like, or say The Sopranos. I mean, I guess they become expensive because of the actors themselves, like paying the actors. But it's like, again, why hasn't Europe or other parts of the world produced more movies or shows of that caliber? They definitely produced a few, like say, as I mentioned, Dark, or say for movies like Pan's Labyrinth, City of God, Elite Squad 2. Like there definitely have been some of that caliber from other countries, but it's just, Diving Bell and the Butterfly. But again, there just haven't been that many compared to the US. And again, people will point to outliers. They'll be like, oh, the horror movie Speak No Evil, the original was better. It's like, yes, the original was better, but if you look at horror movies as a net whole, overwhelmingly the best horror movies have been from the US. Like so many, like The Omen, The Exorcist, The Shining, Rosemary's Baby, It Follows, like so many of the best horror movies, like Sinister, Paranormal Activity, at least the first one. Scream, like the first Scream movie, like so many of the best horror movies have been from the US. So yeah, I mean, that's the first thing. Like if I'm going to give the US major kudos for something, it's going to be movies and TV. That's going to be the number one thing where I'm going to say, okay, you know what? In that regard, yes, America is number one. In that specific regard, yes. Not in every regard, that's for damn sure. But in that specific regard, my hat is off to the US. Even though, yeah, movies and TV are getting worse overall in recent years, but I'm not seeing other parts of the world step up to present a better alternative. So yeah, in that regard, yes, I am an American supremacist in that one specific regard. Okay, that would be the one area where I think America owns the rest of the world's ass, but I think there's other areas in which the US, they may not be the best of the best, but they've at least done respectably, and they have some good shit. Music. I'm going to put music in that category. Again, like, I think a lot of European countries stand up very well for their musical scene. Australia's had some good metal bands too, Canada also. Like, when looking at like metal, rock, electronica, I don't think it's like a wash in favor of any particular country. I would say I'm more of like a first world supremacist in general, like first world, but not so much like Japan or South Korea. I mean more like white majority first world countries like Australia, Canada, US, Western Europe. Like I would say those tend to be the areas that are best for like metal, rock, and electronic music. Some electronic music from Eastern Europe too. But yeah, I mean, overwhelmingly, I mean, I would say the US does well in that regard. I wouldn't say they're necessarily the best, but I'd say they're one of the best. Like per capita, I would say for modern music, some of the Scandinavian countries might actually win out on the per capita basis, like Sweden, Iceland, Finland. Also, UK would perform extraordinarily well on a per capita basis for modern music. And some other countries would perform decently too, like France, Canada, Australia. But US would definitely be one of the higher ranking ones for sure. They might be above like Canada or Australia or France even per capita. So yeah, they do pretty well in that regard. Now, obviously with classical music, I mean, obviously Europe completely owns the field of classical music in a historic sense. Like there have been some good film composers more recently from the US, like Hans Zimmer, for instance. But overall, like with classical music, like that one obviously goes to Europe. That completely goes without saying. And I mean, again, we can debate all day, like, is classical music better than rock or metal or electronica? It's a tough call. Kind of apples and oranges. But my point is, overall, in terms of music, I will say yes, the US does hold up fairly well. I'm not going to say they're the best in the world, but I think on a per capita base, on an absolute basis, they might be the best. On a per capita basis, no, but they're still pretty high up. So still, I would say in a musical, in music, the US performs admirably. The problem is most of what they export to the rest of the world the most aggressively is slop, like Taylor Swift and like all this shitty rap music. Like shitty rap and pop, basically. But the issue is with that, though, to be fair, a lot of other countries produce plenty of slop. Like France has a lot of, like when I was there, I heard a lot of like shitty French rap music. And when I say shitty rap music, that's kind of redundant. I mean, rap in general is kind of shitty, but I mean, even when it's good, it's still kind of shitty. That's the thing. Like even the better rap is still just rap. But I mean, my point is, like in terms of music, when looking at it overall, like not just in terms of like the slop that dominates, but in terms of overall their music scene, I think the US does hold up fairly well in that regard. In terms of food, okay, here's the problem. The US exports all their worst stuff in terms of food. Like overwhelmingly like McDonald's, like Taco Bell, like just all the fast food slop. But their best food they kind of keep for themselves, and that's the problem. Even when some of the better chains are exported, I find they often decrease in quality. It's like becoming international like makes them worse. It's like they sacrifice quality for quantity. Like I find that's kind of what happened with Five Guys and Shake Shack. Like the more they expanded, the worse they got. Chipotle seems to be a bit more immune to that, but yeah, by and large, the issue is like chain restaurants inherently, even when the food is good, they're still chains, and that's the problem, is that they create this atmosphere of sameness everywhere they go. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's kind of the catch-22 is like when any country exports its food, it's always going to be usually in the form of chains and not in the form of independent businesses, and that's kind of inherently the problem. Like, there's not that many places in Europe where you're going to find like an independent restaurant that has like good American food. I'm sure there's some. I did have a few good burgers at independent restaurants in Europe, but by and large, it's just not going to be the case. But yeah, American food though, even though they don't export their best, like they're not sending their best, there is a lot of really delicious food in the United States. The problem is a lot of it's very unhealthy. And that's the thing. You just shouldn't eat it on a day-to-day basis. Like you can theoretically, again, like I'm not an expert on health, but I would say most health experts would probably agree that you can eat even food that is very unhealthy on an irregular basis and still be healthy. The issue is you should not eat it on a regular basis at all. So that's kind of the distinction. But yes, in terms of like the kind of food that like you want to treat yourself to on an occasional basis, I will concede the US does have some of the best shit for that. Like Chicago deep dish pizza, fucking amazing. It's probably just about the unhealthiest thing you can eat, and it is delicious as fuck. I will not deny that. Like in that regard, US does pretty well. Like some of the food they have is absurdly delicious. And again, I'm not talking about the mega chains. I'm not talking about McDonald's and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like local restaurants for like things like say deep dish pizza, Chicago style sandwiches, Chicago style hot dogs, New York style pizza, New York style hot dogs, Philly cheesesteaks. I've never had a chopped cheese. I've heard those are good. Those are from New York. Some of the like Tex-Mex cuisine, like American style Mexican food, Mission burritos too. I don't know if Reuben sandwiches are originally from the US or from Europe. I'm not sure. Obviously burgers, like kind of like diner food, like American style breakfast food. just a lot of like, oh, Detroit style pizza, Detroit style hot dogs, like hot dogs in general. Yeah. Like burgers, like there's a lot of delicious American cuisine. It's just the issue is you got to know where to go. Don't just go to the like mega chains like McDonald's or whatever. Don't go to that crap. Go to like either the local independent restaurants or in some cases, some of the like smaller chains that are like local or regional chains still do have very good food. But obviously like these global mega chains are not the best representative of good American cuisine. But as I say, when I say good, I mean good in terms of taste. In terms of health, honestly, like, no. Like, in terms of health, American food is not great. The best food you'll have in America in terms of health would be either foreign food or, like, stuff that is not considered, like, cuisine, but rather just, like, like health food that is not considered, like, a regional cuisine. But yeah, in terms of quality, yeah, I will say that Americans can make some damn tasty food in certain specific cases. Like, architecture, again, on a per capita basis, the U.S. would probably rank in the lower half of Western countries in this regard. But I will say the best places in the U.S. for historic architecture, some of them are damn beautiful. Like New Orleans, like in this drawing here. Definitely quite a beautiful city. And some of the other places too, like Savannah, Charleston, Boston, New York, Washington, Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, and also some of the smaller towns especially in the Boswash corridor and nearby, like what I call the greater Boswash corridor, I find has a lot of the best small towns and mid-sized cities and towns for architecture in the U.S., like say like Annapolis, Newport, Harper's Ferry, Nantucket, what have you. A lot in that region. Also St. Augustine, Florida, Key West, a few other places, but I haven't been to Key West. But most of these places I have been to. So like, yeah, what I'm saying here is like, yeah, there are good places in the U.S. for historic architecture. The problem is there's just not enough of them. On a per capita basis, the U.S. would probably have less historic architecture than most Western countries. But I will say some of the good places are really good. It's just a shame there's not more of them because they didn't preserve them well enough, because so many places were destroyed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s for the sake of suburbanization and accommodating suburbanites with their parking lots and freeways and wide roads. Especially in the Midwest. I would say if there's any one region of the U.S. that suffered the worst architectural destruction in that era, it would definitely be the Midwest. The Midwest was utterly gutted. Like, aside from Chicago, there's not too many cities in the Midwest that have, like, a significant amount of historic architecture still left. It's like, yeah, there's little bits and pieces here and there, but a lot of these cities were gutted like crazy. So yeah, okay, I was promising I wasn't going to turn this video into like a bitch about the US session, so okay, that's enough about that. So the US does have some nice historic architecture, it's just, it's not everywhere, you need to know where to look. And yeah, also books and video games, like generally media, like, you know, movies, TV. I would say movies and TV, US is clearly on top. Music, US does well, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're right on top. They're on top kind of quantity-wise maybe, but not necessarily per capita. Video games, I don't know. Like, I'm actually confused, like, which country makes which video games to some extent, because, like, a lot of the time, like, the company is in one country, the studio's in another, so who do you even give credit for that? I'm going to say, with video games, I don't know enough to actually say which country makes the best video games. I'm a big Rockstar fan. Like, that's kind of the games I'm into. With books, yeah, I mean, a lot of my favorite books are from the US, both fiction and nonfiction. So yeah, the US would be represented quite well in that regard. So yeah, I mean, overall, there is a lot of good stuff I can say for the US. Like, the US has actually created a lot of good stuff. The problem is that the ideology of Americanism, like, I almost feel like the US creates good stuff in spite of that ideology and not because of it. Because when you look at what the Americanists want. They're against walkable neighborhoods. They're against traditional architecture. They're against, okay, that's another good thing the US does is national parks. And lately they're just gutting that. That's one of the things I would say the US is one of the top countries for is natural scenery. It's not something they can really take credit for. It's not like they built it themselves. I mean, but they did build the trails at least and the infrastructure. So I will give them, and I'll also give them credit for preserving most of it as opposed to like building all over it. Like in a few cases they fucked up, like Sedona and Niagara Falls. I think they allowed way too much development too close, and so did we in the case of Niagara Falls. But still, I will give them credit where credit is due for that. I will say this, like, I don't think all of American culture is slop. It's just the problem is Americanism as an ideology is all about promoting slop. It's all about like, we're going to promote the lowest common denominator of our culture and we're going to push it on the entire globe. We're going to force feed McDonald's down your throat. We're going to push SUVs. We're going to push suburban sprawl. We're going to push car dependence. We're going to push all this shit down your throat and you are going to eat it up. That's the problem with it. But I'm not trying to say that all of American culture is shit. There's a lot of good stuff America has produced, but I feel like it's not sending its best. That's the problem. Like that Americanism, especially like Trumpism, it's all about like shoving the lowest common denominator down everyone's faces, down everybody's throats. And this is the problem. Every account that I see online that is like overwhelmingly pro-America, it's all about support. It's all about promoting the lowest common denominator. It's all about pickup trucks and McDonald's and like country music and everybody in the globe speaking English. It's all about just like lowest common denominator kind of Americanization, like basically American cultural dominance of lowest common denominator American culture. And again, I'm not trying to say that like the English language is a worse language, but I'm trying to say that like I don't support cultural assimilation of the entire globe into a specifically American model. And that's kind of my point. Like my point is that just because Americanization is a bad thing, it doesn't mean that all of American culture is bad. It just means that like American culture should learn more to coexist with other cultures. Especially in cases where other cultures do have plenty of good stuff themselves, like architecture, food, music. You know, there needs to be a mutual respect. So again, I'm just making this video because I don't want to come across like I'm saying everything American is bad or everything American is slop. That is definitely not the case. And as I mentioned, in some regards, like movies and TV, the US actually outperforms other countries, even on a per capita basis. But yeah, so I guess that's all I got to say about that for now. Oh, and I guess one final thing. Okay, Europeans in particular are way too hostile toward air conditioning. I think they should at least consider it with some of the heat waves they've been getting lately. So yeah,